What's going on out there, everybody? We back with another scene of No Feelings, Just Facts. I'm your own Clevonne with Miss Tosha V on the scene. Mr. Ron's not here with us. He's still building on the shows, making a lot of connections out there. But today we got an interesting topic line. We're talking about built for abuse. Anybody out there that's actually been dealing with situations like that, this is the topic line we definitely got to cover. We want to give a special thanks and shout out to our sponsor, the Donald Phillips Project. The jazz band, they are out there once again. They have another album that they're putting out. So if you're interested and you love good jazz music, make sure that you pull them up, the Donald Phillips Project. And there, like I said, there are a lot of professional players that play. You can YouTube them, and they got a couple albums that they're supposed to be putting out there right now. But we want to give a special thanks to them. Yeah, special thanks, the Donald Phillips Project. We also have on today, we got our coming back guest, Miss Zakiya Monique. She's reigning from what's going on, coming fresh out of Detroit. This chick is a motivational speaker. If you ever want to follow her as well, look her up on her YouTube, which is Zakiya Monique Speaks, correct?
No, YouTube is actually Relationship TV with Zakiya Monique, but everywhere else is Zakiya Monique Speaks.
Zakiya Monique Speaks. Even if you want to pull her up on TikTok, Instagram as well, she is like really a lot of knowledge. And what she does is she's really big on helping women, men, and just putting it out there. So she's not biased. That's what we love the most about you. Not biased. You don't have nobody bias on this one. So let's open up this topic line right now. Built for abuse. When I personally look at abuse, because most people always think that abuse is only for somebody hitting you. People, first thing they think is just, oh, they jumping on them. Man, let me tell you something. Abuse comes in so many different ways that people overlook things because it's not the physical. And most people go through a lot of verbal abuse as well. Like I know people who go through verbal and that mental abuse and they just downplay it. I have a sister that one of my middle sisters has a husband, right? And every time we on the phone with my sister, guess who on the phone? I mean, we're talking about some intimate stuff like what's going on. I just had a leg cut off and guess who on the phone? He pop in. Oh, no, that ain't the right leg. Well, where he come from? I never been on the phone with him and his mama or him and his sister. So I got a huge problem with that for me personally. But most people, what happens is when you call out those situations, people will jump on you for calling out the abusive traits that they are experiencing in their lives. Now, like, all right, y'all tell me, what's your take on that? When you have a situation like that, similar, where, like I said, you're on the phone with your relative or your friend and their spouse or whoever else is just sitting there listening to the call on the phone. What's your take on that?
I personally know that there's a problem because what that tells me is that there's a sign of distrust. And I also know that I see it differently because I'm a relationship coach. So I understand that when there is no separation of the two, because it's not just the phone, this person, especially because I've studied patterns. So I don't just look at one thing. So typically the person that's going to be on the phone is also the person that's going to be with them everywhere they go. I mean, all up at the nail shop and all up everywhere. They can't go get a massage because it's going to be a couple's massage. Like if they can't be anywhere or do anything alone, that tells me one of two things. That one, this person could be controlling, a bit narcissistic in some instances because they want to have total control over that person. Or number two, the person feels like if they let them out of their control, they're going to leave. Ooh. So some people are so afraid of being alone that they feel like this is my best friend and so they're insecure. Okay. Yes. So that gives me a red flag either way, because there should be able to be some level of individuality even in the midst of your relationship. Yes. Okay. You are still a person. You're still a human being, and you still may have differences from your mate. And so if I want to go and get my nails done or whatever, I shouldn't have to have you with me, and I shouldn't have to be on the phone the whole time with you. There should be able to be a healthy level of trust in the relationship so that if we are apart, I still function as if I am connected to you because I made a commitment to you.
Hey, that's real talk.
What we're actually talking about is called it's called coercive controlling. And that's what it is. And it's crazy because in the UK it's against the law.
Oh. Wow.
It's not in the United States, and that's when you get with a spouse when, like the title says, built for abuse.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people aren't built for it; they're conditioned to it.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a real good one.
You go into a situation not even recognizing that it is abuse. So you get with someone and just say it's a male, right?
Yeah.
And like Monique was just saying, where first it starts off where he's trying to help me better myself, right? So he might make little suggestions like, why are you wearing that dress? This will look better on you, right? It starts with baby steps.
Gotcha.
Or for me, it was my sense of direction is terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my ex was, well, let me put the GPS system on your phone. So when you get lost, but I didn't notice it then.
To track you as a tracker.
But in how he painted the picture was, because I get lost, I call him and be like, I'm here. How do I get here? He was like, it'd be easier for me to direct you if I can pinpoint where you're at. So I download the GPS, not thinking. And then it's like, he'll pop up at my job.
Ooh.
Right? And all the coworkers, oh, that's so sweet. That was so romantic. No, it's him keeping tabs on me because I said I was at work. So he'll pop up like, oh, let's do lunch.
Yeah.
So it's little things. So you're not mindful of it, right? Because sometimes if we grew up in a household where we had controlling parents, right?
That happens too.
It looks familiar, right? Because when sometimes as parents we condition especially our daughters to walk into these type of situations and they not, because you're so controlling as a father or a mother, right? Where you keep tabs on your child or you don't let them think independently. So they grow accustomed to being guided.
So let me bring this up really quick as one of those parts. When you look at community, I'm going to bring this up as a community abuse. When you look at community abuse, what happens a lot of times, people will put a stigma of their own level of abuse on your child, say, she too fast. They're to this, they're to that. They don't know nothing. They're not ready. So they're putting their own stigma of abuse. And that happens not only in the community, but I'll use the church as an example. I always bring up the church. When I myself would deal with things, I would have issues in church, right? Had children out of wedlock. And what did I have to do? I had to get up and apologize before the church. But the daughter of the pastor didn't have to get up and apologize. The grandchildren would have children outside on wedlock, and they never have to apologize, not one time. So would you put that as a condition of abuse as well when you look at it?
I mean, I think it conditions you to know that certain people are different. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's abuse per se.
Okay.
What I say is it's conditioning you to understand that they don't have to do this. You do. Okay. Ooh. And so what it does is it increases your tolerance, or it makes you feel second, third. You know, and this is how we get, like, I never forget somebody saying, I don't know how a woman can be a side chick. Well, that's conditioning too, because we're taught that we can be number two and it's okay. Some people don't ever expect to be number one because they've never, ever been number one. And so as a result, they don't expect to ever be number one. So number two is fine for them. As a matter of fact, as long as he's treating me well, this is what I saw. See, dovetailing off what Tasha said, ultimately, yes, we are conditioned. There's no one built for abuse. We're conditioned for abuse. All of us are. And whether we saw it, because listen, some of the greatest lessons are not taught, they're caught. Okay. So your children are watching you. This is why mama got to have a life too. Hold on, mama, because you sacrificed a portion of your life when you decided to have these babies, and they're watching you. So when my daughter watches me go through abusive situations, even if I tell her don't do that or don't do that, this is not the generation of do as I say, not as I do. They feel like if mama did it, then it may be fine. This is why you'll have a child. Let's just say you have a mother that's on drugs. You will see, and they watch their mother be on drugs and be deteriorating from drugs. Guess what? One of those kids will go out and be on drugs. Why? Because mama did it. It can't be too bad. See, there's an innocence that's associated with the foundation. Okay, your mother, your father, your foundational relationships, there's an innocence that's associated with it. And when that innocence is broken or corrupted, then all of a sudden what happens? Now I see differently. I don't understand how I'm supposed to function outside of the home because my home was all tore up.
Ooh, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. And going back to what you're saying for the home, because in a lot of the neighborhood, for instance, we grew up in the projects and we moved from the project, we moved from there to another Section 8 house. And within the community, there was always somebody fighting. There was always a woman fighting her man or whatever else. And it was as if this is normal. This is normal. This is how it goes down. So if they're not fighting, they're not in love.
And let me tell you something. Here's the thing that people don't understand about abuse. We tend to go and gravitate directly to physical. So the first thing we'll say is physical abuse. Is he putting his hands on you? He ain't cheating on you. He ain't beating on you. So if you ain't cheating on you, he ain't beating on you, then you okay.
Yes.
That's kind of what, the underlying message is. But let me tell you one of the most powerful forms of abuse, mental abuse.
Yes.
Because everything starts in the mind.
Yes. Yes.
And if I can capture your thoughts, if I can make you second guess you, if I can make you think this, or I can make you think that, if I can govern your thoughts, I have everything else about you.
Wow.
And so I'm not telling you that physical is not important, but what I'm telling you is mental is often overlooked. It's not emotional. People think it's the same as emotional. Mental and emotional are different. Okay. If I can get your mental, I got everything else. This is why they come and play games with your mind. This is why narcissists come and play games with your mind. They make you think. They make you think. They make you think this. They make you think that. Why? Because if I got your mind, I got everything else.
Which is very true. And then a lot of people, I had a friend of mine tell me, they said, hey, look, for some of the women, they don't really want you. You're just convenient.
Absolutely.
I said, wow, that's pretty deep. So the person isn't really in love with you. They're just infatuated with you being available. And I have
They're infatuated with relationships. See, we're infatuated with relationships. I remember a lady, she had been with her husband for years and he died.
Okay.
And she said, I don't want to drive myself nowhere. And I don't want to take out the trash. I don't want to do those things. And you know what happened? She conditioned herself for abuse. So she didn't have to take out the trash.
Yes.
So she didn't have to go and drive herself. Some people are sitting in relationships being abused daily. No, he's never punched you in the face, but he's treating you like trash. Why? Because you didn't want to pump the gas, because you didn't want to take out the trash, because you were afraid to be alone. And at the same time, you already alone.
Right.
Well, very true. And look at our family dynamics. A lot of it, I feel like this, a lot of it, like you both brought up before, about how a lot of it is traditional. It's the hand-me-down abuse. I feel like within a lot of families, a lot of abuse starts within the family as well. How it corrodes against each other, meaning everybody starts attacking each other. And that becomes the norm. I can use, for example, in my own family, what we all define as the black sheep. When you're the black sheep, what does everybody do? They're gunning after you every time you do something left or right. The first thing everybody does, they bring up your flaws, they bring up who you are not, and they start bashing you. And what they do is they team up with more people to bash you as well. I've learned to call it a compliment now because you put my name as free publicity, but at the time when you're dealing with that, that's very hard to deal with. It's very hard to deal with when your support is your enemy.
And you know what's amazing? When you get older and you start to realize that the black sheep is really not the black sheep is really the generational curse breaker. See, oftentimes it's the person that's breaking the curse, the person who has decided to step outside of the foolishness and break it. Because what you can't do, and this is what I tell people all the time, healing starts with one of two things: breaking curses or cutting ties. Okay. You cannot sit in the perpetual foolishness and change it.
Yes.
Okay. So that means that you got to separate yourself. I don't care if you go Bible, you see God telling people, separate yourself. Abraham, get up and go to a place where I send you. I'll tell you where you're going. Right. So I don't care if you're biblical. I don't care if it's science. I don't care. They go away.
Yes.
Right. You got to go away so that you can come back and change a thing. Because when you're sitting in it, you don't see it well.
Exactly.
Right? So you got to get up out of that thing so that you can come back and change that thing. Well, when you come back to change that thing, you got to understand that it's going to be some kicking, some screaming, some backbiting, some lashing out. Why? Because I don't want to change. I want to keep eating my pork and my bacon, and I want to keep eating the stuff that's not serving me well. And I want to keep doing the thing that's not serving me well. And I want to complain about it every day. Yes. And you come in and you're trying to tell me how to change it. I don't want to do that.
Man, and so that goes back to some people like to hear themselves talk as well.
Absolutely.
They like to talk about a change that they're not ready for. And I want to be heard. I want to be heard, but I don't know how to do it. And that goes back.
And I don't want to do it. I know how. See, we can't keep saying we don't know how to do it.
Yes.
Because we're in the information age. We got information at our fingertips. We got more information than we need. The problem now is implementation.
Right.
So the
Yes.
issue, we used to have a problem with information before. We don't have a problem with information anymore. We have a problem with implementation now. The issue is not what do I know what to do. Now, I may not know how to connect the dots.
Okay.
But some of us know how to connect the dots. We just don't want to.
Hey, that's real talk. You got something you want to interject, Tosh?
Oh no, I agree with her. It's because you'll look it up and then you see what's required to do it, and you're not willing to do the work.
A lot of people not ready and willing to do the work. A lot of people aren't, and a lot of people are. I always go to the conditioned mindset as well. The conditioned mindset stems from a lot of the fear. It stems from a lot of the past tense. How many of us got family members that always talking about what they want to do, but they never did nothing? We going to the moon. Watch. And then Billy over there went to the moon. They paid a lot of money. So their fear has kept them embedded with the situation that's unhealthy.
Right.
Fear is the same thing that will cause us to sit in a situation where love is no longer being served.
Yes.
A situation that is not serving us well, and we will stay there simply because I'm afraid. Fear of missing out. I call it the slot machine syndrome all the time. We sitting at that machine because if I get up, somebody else gonna come cash in. You never ever stop and think how much you losing out on by continuing to sit at that same machine that you ain't won at yet and you ain't gonna win.
Ain't that the truth? I'm gonna go here really quick, and I need you guys to follow me on this. I use this church analogy, right? In the church, there's a lot of incompetent people in leadership. And there's a lot of people who have abusive traits because they cannot be seen anywhere else. Have you ever experienced that or seen that yourself? Where you see somebody, they're not qualified. I even see people who can't read, literally can't read, and they put them in position. And they allow them to abuse other people. So now they're in control. Everybody, I look at it like this. Everybody's not meant to be a leader. Everybody's not meant to be in control, because everybody who has a title does not know how to run the position. But that's what they're used to. A lot of people are used to just being in control. When they get in control, well, I can go ahead and attack you because you're open game. And that's where a lot of the cliques and a lot of the stuff happens within the church as well. I've seen people take it. So when we talk about people who go through church hurt, they've been abused so much from not being protected. They're supposed to be there to be healing. They haven't been supported. A lot of people have been forced into situations that become more unhealthy as well.
I still think it's conditioning, because it's just, everyone heard of the scenario of how to cook a frog, right? You put the frog on the stove in cold water and you turn on the heat and you let it gradually heat up, and the frog doesn't notice that it's cooking because it wasn't hot water that you put it into. Because if you drop it into hot water, it's just going to jump out. Okay. But over time, as it heats, the frog is just sitting there. So it's all conditioning. When you first go into any job, church hurt, because we all been under management that was just fools, right?
Oh, yes.
It's not all at once. It goes. It's gradual. So I think it's all the same. It's all conditioning.
Wow. So Bill, what happens? What does it look like when you get into a relationship of a person who's been in previous abusive relationships?
I want to talk about when the abused become the abuser.
When the abused, that's a good one right there.
Because we take on the traits, and we sometimes we don't even notice.
A lot of times that does happen.
Well, I can answer that question, because what typically happens is after it becomes a cycle. Okay, so we all start off innocent. We love this person. I call it the innocent teens, whether it's your teens or whether it's your early 20s, you love this person, you the ride or die or whatever. You love them with the innocent love. And then your heart gets torn out the frame. And then you say, I'm not doing that again, or I don't want to feel that again. And so then you become this different person because that hurt changed you.
Okay.
Well, one of two things happens. When it's a man, in my view, that man will then pick a dependent because he's wounded. Okay.
Yes.
We don't understand healing and all of that stuff when we're in our 20s. We just know to move to the next one. They tell us to replace one with get one to replace the one that left.
Yes.
And so we go from one relationship to the next relationship. We don't take time to heal. We don't know all that. And so we get with the next person, but we wounded. So we don't have the same innocent love as before. Yes. Right. So a male will pick a dependent. Because if you depend on me, I can control the situation. If I can control the situation, then guess who don't get hurt? Me. Okay. So that male picks a dependent. A female picks a beta male. Okay, since I've been wounded and hurt, then I'm gonna pick me somebody that I can control, because if I can control the situation, I ain't gonna hurt him and I ain't gonna hurt me. And
Very true.
ultimately, if I've been hurt or I've been left and I got rejection issues, the beta male ain't gonna leave like that. He not gonna hurt me. That's what we think, right? But what happens in these relationships is this. I told you we're males, we're females at that time. We're not men and women yet. And some of us will grow and we will cross the threshold of learning and healing and growing.
Yes.
And then you will want this person to now be somebody different.
Step
because
up.
as a man, I'm healthy, I'm healed, I'm whole. Now I want a partner, but she's a dependent.
Ooh.
You didn't pick a partner. So now you stuck with another liability. And so you saying now, why won't you get up and work? Or why won't you get up and do this? And we got goals.
Yes.
And she's saying, what goals? What you talking about?
Yes.
Because she's still in the same place she found it. Or female has now grown into this woman. And now she's saying, I want you to get up and be a leadership leader. You're supposed to be leading me. And he's saying, I ain't been leading. What you want?
What you expect?
This is called irreconcilable differences, because now I'm ready to leave you because you're not who I need no more. Yeah, you healed.
Oh, wow. So
that's what happens with you healed.
Wow. So what happens with the person who, like she said, is abused and becomes an abuser? Because I've been with somebody like that. I've been in a relationship with a woman who was abusive, and I'm trying to fix it, right? Trying to fix the person, and it never got fixed. And everything about the person is always attacking you. You're doing things to help them. You're helping their friends. You're helping their family. And what they do is they form a bond with everybody else, turn everybody against you, and then come home to love you when they feel like it. You kind of get it psychological, like you guys said. It's psychologically jacked up. So now here I am trapped in this situation. And when I say trapped, is because the longer you stay, the more comfortable you become. Even though you know it's unhealthy, even though you know it's uncomfortable, even though you know you're unhappy, the longer you stay, the more comfortable you become, because now in your mind, where else am I going to find the help? Well, how am I going to get over this? And people always use this against us. You getting of age. You getting too old. Nobody else don't want nobody with kids. Nobody else don't want that situation. So now the person gets stuck in that. And they keep on taking. So now they spend the rest of their life in an unhealthy situation. And they say, well, I'm built for this.
And they become bitter and they become resentful and they become mean.
Yes.
This is why people start sleeping in opposite rooms, because I can't stand you. I've wasted my best years on you. I can't stand you. And they become old, mean, and surly. And that's why.
Yes, that's so true. I agree 100%. When you look at that, as we get older, you just don't got the same toleration either. A lot of the stuff that we would sit and tolerate, and I'm talking about people that broke away from it. People that broke away from it don't have that same toleration that they had before. But a lot of times when you're going through the healing process, you will regress. You will go backwards, out of comfort, out of what you're used to, because this is your norm. This has always been your pattern. And I feel like
out of Black community too. See, sometimes I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no,
sometimes Black community is huge. See, sometimes some of the biggest issues that we have is this whole no new friends thing. See, when we say no new friends, then that means what we're doing is, that means that I have to find all the resources that I need in the same friends that I've always had. Well, sometimes the same friends that I've always had is the reason why I'm in the situation I'm in. And so as a result, now where am I going to get this resource from? See, new friends sometimes will give you the strength that you need and will give you the exposure to know that, wait, this ain't healthy.
Thank you.
Oftentimes, narcissists don't like for you to be around different people, because the person will come and say, no, my man don't punch me in the face. My man buy me flowers. My man do this. And they say, wait a minute. Because see, sometimes all it takes is for a person to know.
Yes.
All it takes. I remember my cousin, we lived in a dilapidated neighborhood, but we didn't know that. Shoot, it was home. Right? And so somebody took me to a different neighborhood. They took me and showed me a different way of life. And so my cousin was coming up, and guess what I did for her? I took her to see a different thing, a different life, so that she would know something better existed than what we were shown. If you do not show a person, and they will tend to think this is all that there is. This is all that I have access to, right? And so as a result, what ends up happening? You then sit there because this is the best that I have. So that's why we have to be careful with the no new friends and no new things, because you will then box yourself in to the abuse, to settling.
Yes. Thank you.
And things that settle always stay at the bottom.
Always stay at the bottom. And I have a cousin similar. She left Las Vegas. She came and asked me one time, she said, "Hey, cuz, what do you think I should do?" She's a medical doctor now. Much props to her. But she would never be that had she stayed here. And the reason I'm saying had she stayed here, because once your family gets their claws into you sometimes, and when I'm saying the family, I'm saying the friends, the circle, once the community gets their claws in you, they won't let you go. Because they know if you become what you're supposed to become, you're going to leave them instead of pushing you to go where you need to go. So now a lot of people will keep inflicting upon you. And when I say inflicting, that goes back to that comment earlier, well, your child is too fast. Your child is going to, I've literally heard people say your child is going to be raped. People going to rape your child. Your child is too dumb. They're too dense. They're so dense, people going to have their way with them. Why is this mindset okay? Like you guys said, condition. So this is a conditioned mindset that people embrace like it's okay. And they take it to heart like, oh, well, that's sister, that's the evangelist that said that. Well, that's the pastor's wife. She just trying to make me aware. No, they're afflicting indirect. It's indirect affliction.
Especially when the kids are hearing it.
Oh, my God.
So when the kids are hearing that they're too fast or they're not going to be shit, or, you know, you act just like your father, you act just like your mother, or just the constant put down or belittling, and then they become adults and go into these abusive relationships where they're being disrespected verbally, and it's their norm.
It becomes their norm. What do you do? What do you do with a young lady? And I'm using this from experience. A young lady who has been mishandled as a young kid. The family knows that she's been sexually assaulted and abused, and they won't do nothing to say nothing. So now everybody that comes around keeps on abusing her like nothing has happened. And everybody says, oh, she's a HO. Oh, she ain't no good. She just give herself up. When in actuality, she's never been protected.
Right.
Nobody else has ever filled the gap. And so now she becomes that person of easy target. The person that's on drugs, do they want to stay on drugs? A lot of people don't want to. They just, in their mind, how do I get off this? They need that support. So go back to what Zakiya said earlier, when you have the new friends and the new ideologies around you to help you think outside the box, I can never become successful with the same mindset around me. I can't have the healthiness that I need. I myself have been able to embrace, I felt comfortable enough to heal. That's what I just recently said. I felt comfortable enough. I just said this last night, and I was talking to Tasha, and I told her, I thank you for coming into my life because you made it comfortable for me to heal. And what I mean by that is when you know you got genuine people around you that you can mentally know got your back and you can heal comfortably, and people that'll support you, that makes a world of a difference.
When you go into a hospital, there are signs that say quiet. If you feel the temperature, it's cold. There's a setting for healing. Okay. If you ask them, why is it so cold in the hospital? Because we don't want to, we want the germs to be minimal. Why do you want us to be quiet? Because we want the people to rest. Because we want the atmosphere conducive to healing. You have to have that in your life as well.
Yes.
You have to have an atmosphere conducive to healing, which means you got to let hell go. Okay.
And don't be afraid of isolation. Yes.
Sometimes we don't want to let hell go. We're so scared to let hell go because hell is so familiar because it's warm down here. It's hot. Yeah. But at the same time, it's going to burn you up and it's tearing you down. Okay. And so at the end of the day, some of us are not willing to drop one, to cop one. We don't want to do that. We still holding on because I'd rather have a piece of man than no man at all. But yet we saying, God gonna send my husband. He ain't finna send nothing on top of nothing. God don't do healing mess. So at the end of the day, you have to have an atmosphere conducive to healing, and you have to get to the point where you don't care who got to go, because everybody can't go. Think about climbing Mount Everest.
Yes.
They tell you, first of all, everybody's not even conditioned to do so. You have to have a certain physical that you can pass to get to the top of Mount
Yes.
Everest, number one.
Thank
Number
you.
two, you got to pay a certain amount of money. So financially, you got to be set in a certain way.
Thank
And
you.
then number three, as you go up Mount Everest, there are rules.
Yes.
When you stop, you got to eat a certain amount of food because you can't carry all that food up to the top with you because it takes a certain amount of,
Thank you.
Of energy and exertion to survive at the top. So you can't take everybody with you or you won't make it either.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
At the root of it all, if you do, when it comes to going back to your question about what do you do with the person that's been mishandled, the first order of business when you're dealing with somebody who has been sexually abused is for them to understand that it was abuse. Because oftentimes they don't know it was abuse.
Thank you. Thank you.
The biggest problem with those who have been sexually abused is they don't realize it was abuse.
Right.
So they will carry that responsibility and say, maybe if I hadn't been too fast, maybe if I hadn't wore that dress. Why do you think a lot of them become homosexuals? They don't trust men no more. They say if I jump the gate, maybe they won't look at me the same. They have a distrust for men oftentimes. Okay, that's one reason. Another thing is sometimes they'll gain weight because if you ever looked at 600-pound life, most of them were what?
Molested.
Oh, forgot about them.
They will gain the weight because the weight becomes a barrier. Either they won't be found attractive or people will fear them and won't
Thank you. Thank you. Man, you on point with that. You on point.
So ultimately, we have to get to the root of a thing to change the fruit of a thing. There's no way around it. And we don't want to do the hard work. We don't want to revisit the issue. We don't want to relive it. But understand me that sometimes you have to relive a thing in order for you to live again.
That's deep.
Yes.
That's deep. You know, I can't even get my words right, girl. Killing it. But really, because this thing right here, once again, being built for abuse, a lot of people have in their brain, I'm supposed to take it. This has been my norm. That's all I know.
It's what I've seen. I've seen my mother misused and mistreated.
Yes.
I've seen her have multiple babies by multiple men.
Yep.
I've seen it. So this is the way it is. But this is why it's important for mentorship. Because you got to take a person out of the environment so they know that other options are available.
Man, and that goes back to what are you surrounding? If you're constantly surrounding yourself with your family who's unprogressive, you stuck. If you're constantly surrounding yourself with the friends you grew up with that you know are still in the neighborhood, you're stuck. And then you start going through this mental crisis of how do I get here? The truth of the matter is if you don't have people who are ahead of you, you're going to stay behind with the ones you've been with all the time. You got to have people who are ahead of you. What I mean by ahead goes back to what you said about mentorship, right? I always tell people, in order to have a healthy, successful life, you need somebody to mentor you, somebody who's been there to show you this is what you do, this is how you get there. Because if you don't have that right element of people around you, now you begin to sink. So every time you start climbing, you start falling down. Why? Because I'm getting mentored. I'm getting mentored by the hood dopehead.
Right.
And all he telling me.
What I usually say is this, because what'll happen then is we get lopsided. Okay. So somebody will say you need mentorship, you need people that's ahead of you, that's already done what you've done. And then we forget that we still need to pour into people too. Okay. I tell my clients, you need to have somebody that's ahead of you.
Yep.
You need to have some people on your level. And then you need to have somebody you pour into.
Yes.
Because if you don't have anybody that you're pouring into, then your capacity becomes what? You overflow. We were meant to pour from our overflow. Okay?
Exactly.
So we need to have somebody that's over us that can pour into us. And we need to have somebody at our level that feels our pain and knows what we're going through, somebody we can vent with, somebody we can talk with, somebody we can grow with at the same level.
Yes.
And then we need to have somebody that we're pouring into as well.
Man, that
dope. Keeps us grounded.
That's very true. I agree 100% on that one. So when you look at all the people, once again, they regress back into old relationships. And when I say old relationships, not the same person, but the same traits. And when you look at the person who keeps getting the same traits.
Same name, different game.
Same, exactly. I've seen women who are insecure, who shoot for insecure men. I've seen men who are insecure and possessive, who shoot for insecure and weaker women. And I'm talking about good point. Trauma bonds. I remember Tasha was saying that as well, the trauma bond. So when you look at a lot of the older men, right? Why would a lot of older men trying to get the younger girls? Because she didn't know no better. Because she was groomable. She was groomable to the situation. A lot of people get the kids. They get them as kids because when they're younger, they don't know no better. How do you get past all of this when this has been your life history and you look at how it impacts you throughout your life? No, we can't cover everything, y'all, because we got to do.
There's always next week.
We got to definitely do a part 2 on this, but because we got to get into the impact of how this affects people, how it affects their lives. I can say, being a test from that, going through that situation with an abusive person, the family, this is what I hate. The family will know that the person is abusive and they'll cover it up for them. They will give a justification.
But does that person abuse the family as well?
They do, but this is what I'm saying, though. The family, regardless if they abuse the family, the family will turn around and say, that was your fault. You shouldn't have did this. Why did you do that? They will stand, a lot of people's family members will stand with the abuser, even though they know that the person is not right.
That's when you have those family histories of the uncles that been touching everyone, or the grandfather that then molested half of the people in the family.
I'm talking about a female right now.
No, but I'm just saying the family secret, or where it's just swept up under the rug. No one wants to address it or talk about it.
Ooh. Oftentimes, it's easier for me to. I'm a deal with. Let me tell you what people tend to deal with. People tend to deal with the thing that they can change the easiest. So I can't change her. I can talk you out of it, though. So what we'll do is we'll talk them out of it. You wasn't really abused, was you? They ain't really touched you that hard, now did they?
Yep.
It only happened one time, now didn't it? You know what I'm saying?
That's how it goes.
Because I can talk you out of it, because changing them is hard. And then sometimes I know why they that way. They that way because I didn't do nothing about it when it happened to them.
Right. I was just gonna say that.
When you got the uncle, when you got that uncle that live in the back at grandma's house, that they tell you don't go near his room. When you got that, he done been touched. He was touched by her brother.
Yes, right? Okay? Thank you.
My brother, and grandma won't say nothing about him because grandma knows she didn't protect him. So grandma feel guilty, and so as a result, the cycle continues and continues and continues until somebody say, "Not no more, not with mine."
Exactly.
And a lot of times it's, like you said, just a Band-Aid. Like, a way of protecting the child is to make sure that child doesn't go around that individual anymore. But there's no treatment after that. Okay, well, we're going to keep you away from this person, but you don't put the child in therapy or make sure that, their mental is okay. So it's like it's never really dealt with.
That is very
true.
Or
give them the freedom to talk about it. You understand that just the freedom to talk about what happened to you is a lot. Some people can't. We don't mention that no more.
Right.
Oh, so where does it go? It stays inside.
Yes.
And so if you think about it, think about every family reunion you've been to. It's always one drunk uncle, ain't it?
Yep.
It's always one drunk uncle and he's on crack. You know why? Because he got that stuck in him. I guarantee you, if you sat down and talked to that drunk uncle about his past, it's stuck in him.
Right.
Yes.
Stuff that happened in this house stayed in this house, and now you got a drunk in your house.
And then another thing is when we look at how parents distribute the abuse to their kids indirectly. When a lot of parents attack their kids because they don't know how to deal with their anger, emotions, and they feel like the kids are supposed to keep moving like nothing happened. When they are constantly yelling at the kids, cussing them out, then they go and beat them for every little thing. And a lot of kids are acting out in school a lot of times, and instead of the parent knowing how to deal with them, they'd rather send them to another program so they can be out of their face because the parent hasn't gotten to a point where they know how to deal with situations themselves. I used to deal with kids who their mother got a new boyfriend, and every time the new boyfriend came around, he was able to beat the kids. So the kids had no protection. He was able to beat the kids, and she would beat the kids if they interrupted her love triangle, her love relationship. Wow. And I've witnessed this happen. And I'm like, wow. So psychologically, what does those kids do? Those kids start doing abusive things to other kids in the neighborhood. And this is why you have to be mindful who your kids are sitting around as well. It's a whole repetitive circle.
This is also why several women cannot fathom putting a man over their children. So when their husbands come, You know what I'm saying? When you tell them their husband should be
Wow.
first, they just can't fathom that because of what their mothers did to them.
Right.
See, I had a whole argument and fallout on TikTok because I said your husband comes first, not your
Which is
man, not your babe,
yes.
not your boo, but your husband comes first for the betterment of your children. Most of them women say, I don't think so. Ain't no man gonna come before my kids. You know why they said that? Because they remember what their mama put up over them.
Yeah,
Right.
and then look at how a lot of the women too, not I'm just men do it too, but the people that they choose, the people that's chosen in their lives are already unhealthy. So they pick somebody overnight and say they're going to be everything I need them to be overnight. And they go gravitate to something, they throw them in emotion. Well, this hit y'all new daddy. This hit never worked up to it. So the kids don't even like the person.
Right.
But they know it. They know it's a man. We got a whole lot to talk about on that because this is a whole lot, y'all. This is a whole lot because that topic line is a huge issue.
It is.
It's a huge issue,
and honestly, it's how it's portrayed in media too. If you think about it, because when you deal with, I know for me, when you speak about women, it's easier for them to grasp the concept your man comes first when it's the biological father. It gets more difficult for them to understand, even if he's not the biological father and you take him as your husband, he's still the head of the household. He's still number one. He's the priority. They look at you like you're crazy or like you're speaking a foreign language because it's not the biological kids. And men the same way. Like if you remarried and you have a wife, your wife comes first. Well,
before
I have
your baby's
kids.
mama.
Yeah, and I have kids, but it's just the structure. But a lot of people and I was saying a lot of people have an issue with that.
A lot of people have an issue with accepting help as well, like building with someone because I am independent. And that's one of the big crisis issues we have. And with you being independent, you feel like somebody's going to take your independence. So now you become aggressive to fight your independence. And now what do? You build an unconscious abusive situation because you want to stay, I'm independent. You don't ever tell me what to do. And the verbal abuse that people will put up on others is very harsh. Like you said before.
But I think we don't understand that we don't have to give up all of our independence. You know, I think it's just a misunderstanding. It's no different than understanding what submission really means. You know, you don't have to give up. You don't have to go from independent to dependent. There's something in the middle called interdependence. Right. And this is one of the things that I'm going to be shifting, or I plan to shift my audience to understand and talk more about, is moving from independent to interdependent.
Okay.
Because you don't have to give up everything. See, as women, we're taught that the only way we can have it all is if we can't have it all. The only way we can have love is if we give up our careers. So we can't have it all. And the reason why everybody fell in love with Michelle Obama was because Michelle Obama came and said, yes, you can. You can have it all. See, I'm with Barack. I have my law degree or whatever. I have my degrees. I have my children. I still love myself. I still have my individuality. I do the things I like to do. And so people fell in love with that because we've been taught for so long. Look at Oprah. All of our examples, all of our African-American examples, not many of them are able to really be all on fire and have a good love life, a healthy love life, and a healthy career. And you know what I'm saying? It's always been a challenge in one of the areas, but we can have it all. We just have to learn how to shift from independent to interdependent. And we have to choose wisely. The problem is we can't imagine some of these things like submission and interdependence because we've been choosing somebody that we wouldn't follow to the stove.
That's so
if
true.
You wouldn't follow him to the stove, why do you marry him? See, the reason why I won the TikTok argument was if you wouldn't put him first, why you marry him? Nobody can answer the question. See, at the end of the day, most people's thought processes are off. Because when I say your husband comes first, they're talking about my kids gonna eat first. Baby, we're not talking about eating and drowning. Okay? If your husband drowning, your kid drowning, we're not talking about eating and drowning. We're talking about leadership and partnership.
Yes.
Leadership and partnership. Your children cannot lead you and your children shouldn't partner with you. That's the problem now. We got way too many mamas that's in their son's business. Okay? Way too many mamas. He got to put mama first. So he got to buy, every time he buys his wife something, got to buy mama something. You know why? Because we put our kids first in leadership and partnership. And now that man gone because he's not going to be third in the castle. Okay?
No.
Not the one he paid for.
That's
okay,
so true.
So he gone. And now you by yourself. And so now your son feel obligated. Why? Because you ran away every good thing you'd never had because for your kids.
For your kids.
For your kids.
Yes.
But your kids wasn't meant to stay. They were meant to move on and have their own relationship.
Right.
That is so true. That's a very true statement right there. Man, we y'all, I know we over time. And it's so many, we look at here. All right. I really want to.
We gonna need 2 weeks. We gonna need.
We definitely need 2 weeks because I know we're trying to compile everything in this, and
because we got to talk about this one other point. We got to talk about the ingredient. The main ingredient in abuse is competition. We got to talk.
Wait. We
got to talk about that.
Did this chick just say? Where you say the main ingredients in abuse
is competition?
Wow, yes. Somebody had told me that. And when you got a spouse that's competitive against you, that is dangerous. I literally lost. Because a person told me that they don't want me to, I don't deserve that stuff. You don't deserve this. You don't want that. And you don't need it. And so what the person would do is every chance they get, they would tear everything down. They would help other people tear it down. They would do everything possible to tear it down because you don't need it. But then turn around and say, I did have that life. What? But you tore it down though. That is something ain't right there in my brain. I'm trying to really wrap my brain around that. But like you both just confirmed, it's competition. A person, but how can a person compete?
Competition, love cannot thrive. It just can't.
How can you compete against something that you're not even in the same ranks with? I don't get that part. There is no comparison.
You bring it down to where you are. You bring it down to where you are.
Wow.
That's what happened to the women who are on fire and killing the game, and they meet a bum. They meet a bum. That bum say, "I'm gonna get her down here. I'm gonna bring her on down. Bring her down the peg." Ain't that what they used to say on the old movie show, the TV show?
Wow.
Bring it down the peg.
Wait, say that again. Say that again. I don't want you to be up here, and I got to do everything possible to bring you down to where I'm at.
Because it's easier to pull down than to pull up. So I tell people all the time, you got to be careful who you align and get yourself aligned with, because it's easier to pull down than it is to pull up. So you'll find you compromising down all the time. You compromising down all the time. No, come on up here, baby.
That is so true. That is so 100% true. And I've lived that. I am guilty of choosing somebody like that. And thank you for the second confirmation. I'm telling you, once you start aligning yourself with the right people, that's why I brought up Tosha, because I've known her since I was a kid, but I never dealt with her as far as just being a friend and a person to talk to. I never knew her. And then she like, nah, bro, you got to change your brain on this. Oh, what? Girl, you don't know nothing about life. See, but how do you get around people that can be honest with you, brutally honest with you? And that's the thing you have to accept. When somebody's being honest with you, they're not abusing you.
Right.
But I myself would always be on the defense. I mean, you say something wrong with me, I'm just going down with the words. It's going down. That's why your mom like Hulk Hogan. I'm going to say everything possible to tear down. Like I'm going in, but then I have to learn, okay, this person is my friend. This person really has my best interest.
Remember, it goes back to the hospital. You have to create an atmosphere for healing.
Yes.
And part of that atmosphere for healing is hearing the hard stuff and understanding that, first of all, in relationships, healthy relationships require difficult conversations. So if you're going to align yourself with somebody and you want it to be healthy, you have to expect there to be some difficult conversations to be had. Now, when it gets to the point where you can't have a difficult conversation with that person, you have to ask yourself, can we continue in this relationship because something's not being served well?
Right.
Very, very true. And I'm speaking from the standpoint of because I've always had an issue with having friends, genuine friends. I've always had an issue with just having genuine friends. Because why? Because the people who I call friends were my enemies low key for no apparent reason. So when you start embracing, okay, this is really my friend, a real true, it's like, okay, you have to sigh and embrace, and you got to go. It's a lot of healing. It's so much healing. But yeah, being built for abuse, we definitely got to touch back on this. Do you have anything you want to
No, this is dope. I can't wait for next week.
Serious?
Yeah, this was dope.
This is interesting. This is very interesting. Zakiya, what would you like to say as far as a closing on this one?
None of us are built for abuse, like Tosha said. None of us are meant to be abused. However, what we allow will continue.
Yes.
But I come to tell you that healing will change things for you. It will change your vision. It will change your offense, the way you hear things.
Yes.
Healing will change your definition, even in your friendships and the things that you will accept. Nothing happens suddenly. It happens subtly. Okay. And so you have to watch the little foxes, right? The little foxes, the little things. You have to be careful, be careful of the patterns. Watch those patterns. We're not what we do once. We are what we repeatedly do. So we watch patterns. We watch for red flags. Am I telling you to be paranoid? Absolutely not. But I'm telling you to be careful. Okay. Because you're not meant for abuse. But if you stand for it, then you have to own that.
That's deep.
Because it wasn't something that was passed down to you. It was something you accepted.
You know what? And goes back to the environmental setting. That's why I keep bringing up the community, the communities that we choose. Those communities can help us or break us. Those communities will change the trajectory of our life in a positive or negative. So yeah, be mindful.
But I really believe one thing. I really believe that we all get God wouldn't be God if he did not give us some type of way out. So that's why I said initially we may not feel like there's another way, but at some point you know that something's off, something's wrong, and you have a decision to make from there. So I believe that everybody that's in an abusive situation has gotten a red flag, has gotten some type of warning or something. And if you went beyond that warning and continued, then you got to own that. That's what I meant by
Hey, I agree with you on that one. So I would say definitely for the point that you made, you got so many good pointers and all the stuff. And then you come in with Tasha and she's over here doing like the hood spiritual healing and stuff. Like trying to check me about what I'm doing wrong. And I'm like, I know Jesus, I know I got to fix it, Lord. So this is very good. And for all the people who are going through that, because I want to throw this one out there. We're in a season right now of depression. We're in a season of depression. So this season, when certain seasons hit, people go through true depressions. And we have to look at that and look at those traits of what people are going through, and it's silence in your face. People are dealing with depression in your face. So that's something else to tackle. But we definitely got to close out on this one. So I want to give recognition once again to our sponsor, the Don Phillips Project. It's a jazz band, and we're going to have them in the studio to come and play live coming soon. And like I say, they're very dope, very dope. If you want to look them up, the Don Phillips Project, you will find them on, right now you can find their first album on YouTube, and they have a couple other albums that they'll be posting and soliciting. So definitely, if you love jazz music, you love good jazz music, once again, list the Don Phillips Project. We want to thank you all. Thank our own Zakiya Monique for tuning in with us. Thank you for being present, Tasha. If you want to find her, once again, find Zakiya Monique. You can find her on TikTok or Instagram on Zakiya with Zakiya Monique Speaks. And then you can find her on YouTube. What's your YouTube again, sis?
Relationship TV with Zakiya Monique.
Relationship TV with Monique. And next week, we're gonna have to finish out this dialogue.
Of course.
This is deep. We love you. We thank you. Thank everybody for the support. We'll definitely be talking back with you. All right? Beautiful. This is beautiful.